Body diagram.
Oh my goodness. Good. Free body diagram. Let's draw the free body diagram, okay? When I pull to the right, what happens? What's the role of dampers and spring? Do they pushing to the right or don't leave me alone? They pull to the left, right? Isn't it? Yeah. Okay? So now, then as I mentioned, when you draw the three lines, that'll be all. Or am I happy with it, or you forgot something, write something? Right?
Professor, doesn't the dampener push back at the mass?
Okay, so what I mean by that is, what he said it is, if you're pushing this, then does your dampers help you to move to the right? Or what is damper? The damper is always
resisting.
Opposite, right? Resisting. Yes. Right. Okay, so now what should I do? We need to put the forces in here, isn't it? Did you remember that? The force due to the damper here, force due to the what? K number 1. The force due to the K number 2 and 3. All right. Where? What is FC, by the way? Due to the damper. So this is damper is the force due to damper is always proportionally increased by the damping coefficient of the C, and that is proportionally increased by the velocity. Remember that? This is FC. What is the FK1? FK1 is always proportionally increased by K, and with respect to displacement, delta x. What about K2 and 3? How would you find K2 and 3?
You would do 1 over K2 plus 1 over K3.
Okay, so if the springs are connected in this way, then we need to find one representative K, right? Down, so that here, what I can do is, please write down it. 1 over K, that is 1 over K2 plus 1 over K3. So this, the K is total stiffness from K2, combining K2 and K3. So let's do it. 1 over K2 over 2K3, isn't it? Okay, plus K total will be not K. I don't want to keep the twin three, okay? And we will be K2, K3 over K2 plus K3. Do you agree with that? Now, then this is what K2 and 3 times XOP. Do you agree? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we go over the assembly, the coordinate system, and go to FPD. What are the next steps? The third step is what?
Write out your equation of motions with the forces that you have.
Okay, so we will use the Newton's method, which is all the forces acting on the mass with respect to the x direction has to be 0 or mx double dot.
Mx double dot.
Because this is dynamic, right? Where the mass is moving. Right? So now all the, like you see, the right hand side is positive, so with respect to the coordinate system, FC, FK1, FK2 and 3 is all negative, isn't it? Am I right or wrong? So negative CX dot P negative this negative, what is it? K2, K3 over K2 plus K3, and so that has to be mx over that. Can you understand? So now, then equation of motion, the answer is equation of motion should be, what is it? And we organize, right? Mx plus c. And can I combine this together? Plus 2, 3 over don't forget that is equal to. How many of you guys get this equation? But this problem is not asking, okay, but the PM give me a thumbs up, please. You got the same answer, but hey, look at it. Please read the problem. Is the system overdamped, underdamped, underdamped? So this has nothing to do with it, but again, when I teach this class, I will always ask you, subproblem number 1 will be equation of motion. Did you remember? What is a subproblem number 2? It's about?
Finding the natural frequency.
Okay, what is the natural frequency of this?
It's gonna be K over M.
So this is like the M position. Where is the K position? This is K position, right? Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
So omega n is square root of K position over M position, right? And the unit has to be vibrator. Okay. So what is it? Does anyone remember what is D? Does anyone remember that what the equation omega D? Omega D is what?
I think it was the natural frequency times the square root of 1 minus the ratio squared. Yeah.
Omega N I square root of 1 minus zeta squared. All right?
Yeah.
Okay? Would you be able to do that? But do we know that the zeta or not?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
So what is zeta? What is zeta? What is zeta? What is the equation?
C over 2 square root K.
Oh, it's actually right there.
Living with 2 wives key. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. In this K, what is K? This red box. The K is all the red box. This is all K. The M is all M position line. Can you understand or not? So now there's the problem give you the
Yeah, she told me to tell you that she had to get going, and you were in the shower, so.
Yes or no? Are you here to copy and paste? You're what? Copy and paste? Tell me, does the problem give you the K1, K3, so we will be able to know that the K4?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. The M is supposed to be given. Yes. Okay, carry things. Then, do you know about the zeta? So what is zeta? Let's take a look at the problem. See that. 0.245. Zeta over 0.245 is what? Is that a over there?
It's underdamped.
Under that. So this is number 1 problem. We solve it. Okay? We should be able to solve it, right? Any questions about this? No? So we're moving on. Okay? can I get rid of it? I don't know, still don't know how can I get rid of, how can I make the lockbox?
You can add a text box, can't you?
Okay, so the insert, no, what should I do? I don't know. Draw, shape, ink to the shape. I don't know. But anyway, so then let's read carefully, okay? This was one of the exams. You need my explanation. So this is simple model of the aircraft, okay? So, then this is a shock system, suspension system, right? That's composed of two parts. One is a spring and temper. Then this is a wheel, right? Then the wheel with without if slipping, then this is really hard problem, but will be there is no slipping. Without slipping means your the wheel is fully engaged with the surface, isn't it? Okay. Now guess what? Within, can you see the coordinate two types of coordinate system? So do we have to using a two coordinate system or pick one? Can you pick the one or the two coordinates?
We need to pick one.
Okay, then which one do I need? Theta or x?
Data.
Theta or so how many of you guys agree with that? The theta is better or x is better? Let's discuss about it. Why the theta is right? Why not? Tell me. What are the purpose of the suspension system? Because the suspension system is moving like this, or the suspension system is moving up and down.
It's moving up and down.
Up and down means do we need a theta or do we need the x?
X.
Oh my goodness, can we say that? X. Okay, so what are the purpose of this process? And look at this X, K, and the C, right? The K and C is always what? Working for what? Translation. Right? That's why we need what the final goal has to be. So our the equation of motion has to be the function of X. Where's my one of go? Can you see that? It's certainly gone. So we need to realize all the coding system. Yes. Okay. So now we know that. Okay. My goal of this is our goal is we need to set up the equations of motion for x of t. Right? Again, my equation of motion has to be function of s, not function of theta. It means maybe there's a relationship between x and theta, right? But see, how do you know that the up and down amount? So up and down amount is when you the wheel rotating, fully engaged with the surface, then don't you agree with that this arc is nothing but the distance up and down or the translation of motion, isn't it? So that's why the x is r times theta. You understand?
Could you explain that again?
Okay. here is a disk, and here's a surface. Then when you're rotating, then you're the disk rotation is this. So now what I mean by that is this, then rotating this and this point will be turns out to be somewhere here, right? Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. So that how would you measure that the height is nothing but this, the length is the same as this, isn't it? That's why the arc motion is. Arc is nothing but, we know that. Then this, we know the theta and r. And arc is nothing but r.
Mm.
Without slipping, right? With the slipping, that is crazy, really hard. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So same way, up and down amount is fully engaged. Up and down with x is r depth. Now, then is that a complicated part, the complicated system or not? Is that an easy using Newton's method? If not, then please what? Using energy method, right? Since this problem is what? Using energy method, we will do the different one. What is it? Lagrangian method. Okay? So I don't want to read the problem solution, right? So we will do the different way. So Lagrangian method. How are you going to do that? Lagrangian method. What should I do?
We need to find the total amount of potential energy and the total amount of kinetic energy that we have.
Okay, that's the right answer. Okay, so now let's figure out what types of kinetic energy we have. So kinetic energy. So does my disk is moving up and down? My wheel
No,
is
it's
up and
rotating.
down. Yeah. Then my wheel rotating as well, right? Tell me, is that right? So my wheel is up and down as well as rotating, right? That's why there's a two linear energies. In translational motion, this is moving disk right up and down means 1/2 disk mass, then x dot square. Am I right? If you're just copy and paste without understanding, you try to memorize, you cannot solve my problem. But again, we have this case rotating and this case in the meantime up and down, right? Can you see that in my hands? So up and down is represented by KP1. P2 is that are related to the rotation. So rotation, how are you going to write it? 1/2 J theta dot square. Isn't it? This is not an easy problem though. Then are we done for the kinetic energy? Are we done for the kinetic energy? Any other kinetic energy? No. You go sleeping.
Professor, are you saying that the wheel is going to bounce off the ground when it lands, or that the plane is going to bounce up and down?
Okay, the wheel. The
Wheel,
plane is
okay.
up and down, then that is in plane, right? That's why we put the vectors. You know, the technique of that oscillation.
Yes.
Right? That's why you're the wheel,
Right.
your tires are
Yeah.
rotating, but up and down, isn't it? That's the right description. Good. So we only have two different kinetic energy. What about potential energy? How many potential energy do we have? Tell me. What types of potential energy do we have?
Professor, I have a question.
Mhm.
Since the spring is like kind of inside the airplane is moving. Would there be kinetic energy on the spring as well?
As I mentioned, the does the kinetic energy only exists with the mass? Does the spring has a mass or not? In this case, the spring,
No.
the mass of the spring do not apply. I know if you're getting a job and the spring is heavy and the dampers are heavy, but we are setting up the equations by ignoring that the mass of the spring and damper. Because relatively speaking, can you imagine that the mass of the tire of the airplane, they're tons, more than tons, more than 1,000 kilograms, right? But that compared to the 10 kilogram of the spring or 100, we can ignore that part. That's why do not think about that part. Means you don't need to worry about that. Anyway, the spring is connected with the what? To the wall, right? This is like the elongated and contract, right? Not moving itself, is it? That's why you do not consider about the spring. Is that the spring will generate what? Rotation. And rotation is number one is due to, okay, spring means 1/2 a x squared, isn't it? Up and down. What about we have rotational motion in this problem? Rotational motion means, is there a pendulum motion? Can you see that the rotational motion or a height difference? Is there a problem that are related to the height differences or like a pendulum? Or let's put it this way. Is there anything that are related to gravity? I mean,
Yes.
are you watching TV? Are you watching YouTube? Are you watching TV? Are you eating breakfast?
Is it gonna be like the mass of the wheel?
Okay, so okay, always. There's two types. Only pendulum is working due to gravity. Except it, there's no any the work is related to the from the gravity. So there's no any that are related to the rotation. Again, only pendulum. Pendulum is you need to pin and swing it. But this is rotating, but that rotating creates kinetic energy, but not does you're look like it moving like this, the pendulum motion, then you get in trouble, right? We like this.
Doctor, do we have
Yes.
to consider the force of gravity acting on the wheels since there's a body above it though?
That's a really right question. Okay, so Bob, as Mia mentioned, what if we consider what the gravity of this? Then the look like my mass is moving up and down, right? But that up and down is due to the spring. Why are you bouncing back? Because of the spring, not the gravity, right? Okay. Without this, what happens? The K is trying to help you to bouncing back. Without the K, this will be pulling down. Then this is working by the gravity. Since we we connected the spring is bouncing back. Trying to. That's why we only consider that okay, my springs cover or against gravity.
Professor, is that because we're considering it like it's a x-axis problem? Does that have
Yes.
anything to do with
Yes, yes. If rotational motion, there's a two, this is rotational motion, but does not change in terms of the gravity changes. Okay, hey, look at the pendulum. Look at the pendulum. The pendulum, why the gravity is working? Because of the mass, there is a gravity, mg here, right? And this is a string. So when you're adding up these two factors, then the direction of this one. Am I right? Then motions are in a swing way, arc motion, right? Due to the gravity. But that does not mean anything. This rotation is what? Because of the friction with surface. This has nothing to do with what? The gravity. The rotation of the disc is nothing to do with your gravity. But the pendulum is what? Without gravity, you cannot rotate, isn't it? That's a key thing. So when you study, is that a pendulum motion or not? That's a key. Okay, let me ask you. Look at this suspension system of the aircraft. Is that a pendulum motion?
No.
No.
Then do not think about what? Okay? That makes sense? Yes, go ahead.
And if there was a pendulum motion, we would be.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, another chat. Good. Oh, the whole to come up with the questions. Will a damper ever have a kinetic and potentiality? That's a really good question though. Okay? But there is nothing to do with. There's nothing to do with. But there is a one thing, but I did not cover it in class. So we will adding on this in the Lagrange, okay? Okay? So I will write down the equation of motion, okay? The Lagrange equation to answer the question from Roland. This is the first term. Did you remember that? Right? Okay? The second term is what? Negative round e over round x. Did you remember that? And third term is round u over round, what is it? Okay? Then the last term is okay? Then the last term is this is related to theta dot or the x dot. This is Coulomb coefficient. Due to Coulomb, then we will have a kinetic energy. So let me go back to here. When I teach the, that's really a good question. Look at the micro. Take a picture. There's okay, so take a look at the solutions to see the right answer. We have either the kinetic energy, But let me check the potential energy is right or kinetic energy. Okay. Let me double check. When did I taught energy methods? Fine. Okay, it's the energy method, right? Okay, I understand. Okay, then what is a solution? I did not cover that part, but since now you're gonna see this problem. I taught this one 2 years ago. I never really did. Here we go. So now we find it. Okay. Hey, Olin, can you read carefully? So see, Lagrangian formula is so far when we covered this is the first term, right? This is the second term, am I right? And third term. So now, can you look at the round R? Round R. So this is we're gonna call the now I remember the Rayleigh dissipation function. So this is kind of the energy, but this is only work for the damper. Okay, can you see that the damper? So either this is not the P and U, but the R. The Rayleigh comes with this equation. Hey, look at this. It looked like what? It looked like a potential energy. It looked like what? The kinetic energy. No one can tell this is this, but always this is look like a potential energy for my side. Because the mass is not in here. Instead, the coefficient of C will be here. So this I treat as potential energy. Okay? Now, back to here. Then the last one is the R. Okay? So where the R? The R is we'll say that one had C, the Coulomb coefficient, and this is proportionally increased by the velocity. Then we will what? Partial derivative with respect to this. But I don't want to say that this is U, but this is kind of potential energy. Yeah. It reminds me, right? So is that answer to the question? Okay. We have energy, but if you wanted to say that which one, either kinetic or the potential, but this is potential. Huh? But since Rayleigh come up with this the term, so we're gonna call the Rayleigh energy. Yeah. So now we will do that together. So now, let me check the chat. Okay. So, oh, this is really good question. Really happy. And now we will do the partial derivative. From now on, this is kind of hard. So please tell me E over dt inside of the parenthesis round we have a two t's, isn't it? Two t's. One for translational motion, which is mx dot square, right? Plus we have another one, right? But can you look at this? What is theta dot? Theta is from the here, and you see that from here, this is so important. When you get lost, you're gonna ask me again. The arc motion x is r theta. The theta is
X over
r. Yeah, the x over r. So now, how are you going to do the theta dot? Theta is what? The r is constant so that, can you get that x dot over r? Is that right or wrong? Okay, am I right? So I will literally write down here 1 half j x dot over r to the square. With respect to what? The partial derivative with respect to the x dot. Did you remember that, what we did in class? So the last time what we did is make the what? Square to the variable. If variable is the same, we can do the partial derivative. Alright? Did you remember that part? So now let's do it. This one with respect to this. What is the answer? When you do the partial derivative with respect to x dot, what is it? Tell me.
mx dot plus
mx dot, but since the variable is the same, right? You don't need to worry about anything in here, right? Am I right? Plus, and second one is what? J x dot
over
r what? Squared. The r squared is constant. Nothing to do with the x dot, isn't it? Now, when you do the derivative with respect to time, so what happens? This turns out to be what? Tell me. M x double dot plus j over r squared and x double dot. Can you combine this together? Parenthesis m plus j over r squared times x double dot. Can you understand? Don't copy and just take a look at the answer. Now, the right term, the second term, this will be 0. Does anyone explain to me why? Because kinetic energy is a function of x. Okay, which is saying that no, yes. So, this is not a function of x. This is a function of velocity. Velocity. So that's why velocity is nothing to do with it. These are the related, but it's not the function of the displacement. So that's why the second term is going to 0. Now, first term is done, and second term is going to 0. Let's move on to third term. The third term is what? The u. How many u have? We have. How many u?
1
1, which is
1 over 2 kx squared.
x squared with respect to the partial derivative with respect to x. Right? Let's make the triangle for the x displacement. So can you do the partial derivative with respect to the x? Then what is it? A
Ax.
x. So far we found the first term and third term, right? Okay? But the fourth term, you know what? I usually do not teach in this class. Okay? But since we go over that, okay, we will do the partial derivative. Since we know the really potential energy, we will do the partial derivative. So do that. Round 1 half c x dot square with respect to x dot. So x dot is we make the square. Do you remember in the top? The first. So we can do it right away, right? So we're using red colors since this is important. And this is what? X, cx. We will do that. Okay. Okay. So since we have a fourth term, what is the equation of motion? Motion is, the first term is the parenthesis m plus a over r squared x dot plus, we don't have any second term. Third term is what? Okay. We have a fourth term. Yes. And do we have a forcing function or not? Do we have a forcing function or not? No. That's why. So this is we're gonna call what? We're gonna call what? Homogeneous equation. This is equation of motion, right? Now, what is the M position and what is the K position? This is K position, right? And this is N position, isn't it? So now, then omega N is, how are you going to write out? Square root of A over M position. All right. Do you agree with that? Okay, that's it. If someone asks me, what is omega N? Omega D. Then omega N times square root of 1 minus zeta squared. What is where the zeta? Zeta again. C over 2 times A. Right? Everything is, we know that. This K is K, but M is a little bit tricky, right? The whole entire thing has to be here. Can you understand? Can you solve this types of problem?
No.
If I give you in your exam?
No.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Go ahead.
but whenever we have these type of problems, these gotta like assume like real life scenarios.
Yes. That's why I like this. I'm not a big fan of teaching like a 421 because that is not, you couldn't find it because that the microscope. You couldn't see that in real world. Okay, so okay.
Quick question.
Hold on. Okay, Joseph, hold on. Okay, let me read for the comments from the following. So do we need to include the R now when we have a vector? Yes or no? But let me see. Okay, but since we know that, I will right. If I put the vectors, and if I'm asking to do that, the Lagrangian methods. Let me put it this way. I will give you the R number. Okay, R as well as port 2. So all you need to do is what? Partial derivative with respect to L dot with respect to X dot. Does that make sense? All right? I will give you the equation since we did not fully cover this. Okay? Okay. So let's move on to the Joseph question.
So my question was also about the R, if that's only included when we have a damper involved in the system. But
Yes.
yeah,
So,
thank you.
okay. But okay, since we go over that, let's take a look at this. U due to K is what? 1/2 K x squared, right? Then what is U, potential energy due to the damper? Okay, let's take a look at this. But no one say that this is like this. I don't want to say the potential, but it looks like the potential, isn't it? Instead of K, we'll see. Instead of the X, we will put the X. Because what? The Coulomb coefficient is always what? Coulomb force is what? Always. Coulomb force is always proportionally increased by the Cn. Okay? So now let's move on. Let's move on to the next problem. Okay, since we don't have any problem here, let's move on to the V2 prime. Okay? Let me check the chat. So Joan said that I'm very lost. I understand the equation of motion, but I don't get how we get there. The problems. Okay. So that's why problem. But okay. Let me do this. Can you stick with the fundamental? Okay. Let's take a look at it. Okay. When I teach the energy methods, always start with what? There is translational motion, right? And there is rotational motion, isn't it? And translational motion, there is